191. Yet truly, those of you who wish to take away in between middle way, you are preparing disparaging joylessness within yourselves, because there is no way in between middle way, between the real truth and the untruthful in truth. 192. Those amongst you who are knowing conscious, in the truth of the primal wellspring creation, and the truthfulness of the prophets and their teaching, you are striving for the truth and equitableness, fairness, and therefore do not make any differentiation among people of your kind, human beings, as creatures, human beings, but only in their bearing behavior. 193. And truly, those of you who are fair to people of your kind, human beings, as creatures, human beings, you receive for this in yourselves a good reward of love from people of your kind, love for human beings / love for the next one. 194. Even long before your time, many of your forefathers and foremothers, ancestors / forebears, demanded of the true prophets that they should give you the writing of their teaching of truth, teaching of spirit, teaching of life, so that they would have it before their eyes time and time again. And truly, several of the true prophets from the line of Enoch, the originator of the teaching of truth, look for people amongst you who are able to write, so that they should set down record the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life in writing for all coming time and for all descendants, children of children, etc. But truly, throughout all of time, all the scribes entrusted with this task falsify and slander, calumniate the teaching of truth of the prophets, so that all words are twisted, distorted, and rendered unrecognizable. But this had already been foreseen at an early stage, so that the scribes entrusted with the task were encouraged to write down the teaching of the prophets conscientiously, but they never paid attention to this. But the confidence is maintained that the teaching will after all be recorded recognizably by responsible-minded ones, although there is no great confidence in this respect, because those who know how to write always have the sense of incorporating their own explanations, interpretations, into the writing and form it according to their opinion. Truly, it was decided, that in the new time the scrolls of the teaching of the prophets will be set down, recorded, by the one who is probably the most gifted in writing and the last prophet from the line of Enoch, in his own writing and in an understandable language for all those who are looking for the paths to the truth, so that they may find it. 195. Consider at all times that there is no one amongst the people, neither man nor woman, who, if given the task of setting something down, can authentically reflect the given word of the teaching of truth, because each one feels the urge to perpetuate immortals their own view, thoughts / imaginations, and explanations, interpretations, which explains why they defile, falsify the word that is announced to them, dictated word, and why only slanders, calumnies, and lies, as well as delusions and distortions, falsifications, are retained as handed-down knowledge, tradition / chronicle. However, this will not be the case in the new time, because the last prophet from the line of Enoch, comprehensively fulfilling his matter of admonishment, matter of conscience / matter of honor / duty, will set down record the teaching of truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all love creation, and therefore the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life in his own writing, and without defilement, falsification, in many scrolls, so that everything may be of permanence. And truly, the last prophet from the line of Enoch will make the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life obvious, understandable to you in the far-off time, far descendants, so that there will no longer be any doubt in the understanding, and you will no longer worship gods and tin gods. The signs, marvels / evidence of the true prophet of the new time will be seen and recognized, understood by his true companions, so that they will carry his signs, evidence, and the teaching into the time to come, future, so that in the far-off time there will be true love and freedom amongst the peoples, humankind, of earth, as well as peace and consonance, harmony. 197. And the true prophet of the new time will live high on the top of the mountain that will resemble a horseshoe, and he will carry forth the signs, evidence, of peace, freedom, love and consonance harmony, and the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life throughout the whole earth, so that his signs, evidence / marvels, and the teaching will be clear to all people of your kind, humankind. And they conclude a bond agreement with the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom creation. 198. Step through the door of cognition into the teaching of truth, so that you no longer neglect and contravene the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all existence creation. Therefore you shall conclude a bond agreement with the truth and do rightfully in all things. 199. Enter into a bond contract with the truth and do not break it, like your forefathers and foremothers, ancestors / forebears did when they denied the signs, evidence, of the truth of the primal wellspring of all existence creation, and iniquitously slandered, calumniated the teaching of the prophets and attempted to kill the prophets. Truly, do not be like them who carelessly neglected their benevolence and sealed up their understanding. 200. Do not break the bond agreement with the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all existence creation, once you have concluded it, so that you do not once again start to misconstrue the signs, evidence, of the truth and become unknowing again, and do not turn yourselves to gods and tin gods once more. 201. So that you may be knowing, conscious, in the truth, you shall turn yourselves away from your gods and tin gods, and from your priests and other servants of gods and servants of tin gods, who altogether speak slanders, calumnies, against the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, and against the true prophets and their teaching. 202. Truly, those amongst you who are in disunity and doubt regarding the real truth and its teaching, you do not have truthful, non-falsified tidings from the teaching of truth. Rather, you are simply following an assumption, and you cannot turn this into certainty. 203. Those amongst you who live in non-right and do evil and slander and infringe against the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring creation, forbid yourselves your wrongdoing and only permit yourselves to do what is rightful, so that you no longer remain secessionists from the truth and only do clear things. 204. And if you speak about the truth and teach it, then do not take payment for it, because you shall not be allowed to turn the teaching of truth into commerce when you are teaching, instructing those who are knowing in the truth and who are therefore seeking the truth. Only take a payment for this if it is given to you out of love and kind-heartedness and given freely as a gift without your asking for it, and therefore you shall only take a payment in order to pay your costs which accrue to you when you are producing writings for which you yourselves have to give a payment, and in this way the payment is rightful, so that you do not suffer any disadvantage and may further from disseminate the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life. 205. And it is not allowed for the ones knowing in the truth to be recompensed as teachers for instructing the people in the teaching of truth by their municipality, community, or by the people's state, unless those who are thirsting for truth freely give forth gifts, so that the instructing one's teachers may cover their living expenses. 206. And it is rightful that you do not pay false prophets and priests and other servants of gods and servants of tin gods, and do not build for them any temples, houses of gods and houses of tin gods, or houses of prayer, so that they do not become mighty over the people's humankind, and lead them into delusion and plunder, exploit them with their false teachings. Truly, if you pay the false prophets, the priests and other worshippers of gods and worshippers of tin gods, and if you build for them temples, houses of gods / houses of tin gods, then they will take you and turn you into their servants in belief, and will steal your possessions and your wealth, fortune, because their guilefulness knows no limits, is boundless.